Ethan Carter adjusted his tie as he stepped into the cool air of Summit Bank in Denver, Colorado. The morning had been brisk but productive, and this was supposed to be his final errand before heading back to his office. His leather briefcase swung by his side as he approached the sleek counter where a young woman, Claire, stood behind the glass, her hair neatly pinned back. "Good morning," Ethan greeted, his voice calm and friendly. He slid a crisp check and a bundle of bills through the slot. "I'd like to deposit this." Claire glanced at the check, then at Ethan, her eyes lingering for a moment too long, narrowing slightly. "This line is for business clients only," she said, gesturing toward another line filled with customers. "I am in the right place," Ethan replied, his smile unwavering. "This is a business account deposit." Her lips pressed into a thin line. "I'll need to see some identification," she said curtly. Ethan hesitated, not because he minded, but because of the tone, sharp, almost accusatory. He pulled his wallet from his pocket and passed her his driver's license. Claire studied it, her expression shifting to one of suspicion. "This your ID?" she asked, flipping it over as if searching for signs of forgery. Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Yes. Why?" Without answering, Claire set the license aside and stared at the check. "And where exactly did you get this?" she asked, holding it up like it was a piece of evidence in a crime scene. Ethan's calm exterior began to crack. "I wrote it," he said firmly. "It's from my company, Summit Capital." Claire scoffed. "And what exactly is your role there?" "I'm the CEO," Ethan said simply, though his patience was wearing thin. Claire's smirk was slight but unmistakable. She leaned over and pressed a button. "Security. I might need some assistance," she said into the intercom, as though speaking about a disturbance rather than a customer. "Is there a problem?" Ethan asked, his voice firm now, though he kept it steady. Claire folded her arms. "I'm just doing my job. This check doesn't look right, and your story doesn't add up. Do you have another form of ID? A passport? Maybe." Ethan stared at her, incredulous. "Who carries a passport to the bank?" Her lips curved into a thin smile. "I do when I travel," she said smugly. Her finger hovered over the intercom button, and her smirk only deepened. A tall security guard emerged from a side door moments later, his posture stiff and eyes scanning the room. The air felt heavier now, and Ethan could feel the weight of several curious glances from other customers. "Is there an issue, Claire?" the guard asked, his voice calm but firm. "Yes," she replied, gesturing toward Ethan. "I suspect fraud. This gentleman handed me a check and ID that don't seem to match. His story doesn't add up." Ethan turned toward the guard, maintaining his composure. "There's no fraud. I'm here to deposit a check from my company account, and everything I've provided is legitimate." The guard looked at Claire, then at Ethan, and back again. His stance shifted slightly, as if unsure how to proceed. "Do you want me to call the police?" he asked. Claire waved her hand dismissively. "Not yet. Let's confirm the check first. It's from a company called Summit Capital. Apparently, he's the CEO." Ethan inhaled deeply, the sharp edge of her words striking a nerve. "You could save us all some time by calling the number on the check," he said, keeping his voice measured. "They'll confirm everything." Claire ignored him, pulling a second monitor closer to type in the check details. As her fingers moved across the keyboard, she glanced at Ethan again. "Do you even have another form of ID? A business card? Anything that proves who you are?" Ethan opened his briefcase and handed her a neatly printed business card, embossed with the Summit Capital logo and his name. She barely glanced at it before setting it aside like it held no value. "You know, we have policies to prevent people from scamming us," Claire said, her tone sharp. "You'd be surprised how often we catch people trying to pass off fake checks. You should have thought this through better." Ethan's jaw tightened, but he held his ground. "Is this how you treat all your customers? Or just the ones who look like me?" he asked, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. Claire paused, her expression briefly faltering before hardening again. "I'm just doing my job," she said defensively. "You're the one who's acting suspicious." The security guard, still standing nearby, cleared his throat. Why don't we let her verify the check and sort this out? He suggested, his tone neutral. Ethan nodded, taking a step back. Fine, go ahead. Verify it. Claire's fingers danced over the keyboard again, and she picked up the phone to make the call. As the line rang, Ethan crossed his arms and watched her, his calm exterior barely concealing the frustration building beneath the surface. Claire held the phone to her ear, her tone clipped and professional as she spoke. Yes, this is Claire from Summit Bank. I'm calling to verify a check for $20,000 issued by Summit Capital. Can I speak to someone in charge? A pause stretched in the air as Claire's expression flickered. Yes, I'll hold, she said curtly, tapping her nails on the desk as if the act of waiting were an affront. The line connected again, and Claire's eyes widened slightly. Oh, Mr. Carter. Yes, I have someone here trying to cash a check in your name, and I need to confirm its authenticity. Ethan arched a brow, tilting his head as he waited for the inevitable. Claire's expression shifted rapidly, her smugness evaporating into confusion, then shock. Her cheeks flushed as she stammered. Ah, yes, of course. I didn't realize. I'll thank you. She placed the phone down with a trembling hand, her gaze darting toward Ethan but unable to meet his eyes. It's all verified, she mumbled, her voice barely above a whisper. The bank manager, a composed man named Philip, walked out of his office just then, likely summoned by the commotion. He glanced between Claire, the security guard, and Ethan. What's going on here? He asked, his tone firm but calm. Claire straightened, trying to salvage her authority. I was just verifying a suspicious transaction, she said quickly, but it's all sorted now. Ethan took a step forward, his voice calm yet firm. What she means is that she falsely accused me of fraud, questioned my identity without cause, and treated me like a criminal for no other reason than her assumptions. Philip's brow furrowed as he turned to Claire. Is this true? Claire stammered. I was just following protocol. It's not my fault, he seemed. Philip held up a hand to cut her off. I'll handle this. Mr. Carter, I apologize for any inconvenience. Is there anything I can do to make this right? Ethan's gaze didn't waver. I think you should take a closer look at how your employees treat people, because this isn't just inconvenient. It's unacceptable.